They sealed the tunnels. She built a new world beneath their feet. When the storms finally broke the surface, whole neighborhoods vanished. The sky was dust and the earth was bone dry, except for the ancient tunnels far below, abandoned and forgotten by everyone except for those desperate enough to seek shelter in the dark. Aria stood at the mouth of the sealed cavern, her breath visible in the chill that seeped from the earth. The town above had given up hope, closing off the tunnels after a collapse decades ago. Some whispered about monsters or poisoned air. But Aria, alone and left behind, saw only opportunity. She dug for days, breaking through concrete and rusted gates until the last sliver of daylight vanished behind her. Alone, by lantern light, she descended into the depths, one step at a time, past graffiti and echoes of lost voices. If the world above was finished, she would begin again below. The tunnels were a labyrinth, cracked pipes, echoing chambers, abandoned train platforms. Aria mapped every twist and dead end in a battered notebook. She scavenged batteries, tangled wires, and whatever food she could carry. A trickle of water dripped from an old service line. Aria caught it in pans, testing for poison, rationing every sip. Nights were endless. Sometimes she heard the shifting of earth or the scuttle of rats behind the walls. But Aria kept moving. She set up base in a wide chamber beneath an old mosaic, a forgotten underground plaza. There she planted seeds in buckets, catching condensation with tarps and patience. The first shoots appeared, a single sprout of bean, trembling in the thin glow of her lamp. Every green leaf was a reason to go on. Days blurred into weeks. One night, a faint scratching echoed down a side passage. Aria tensed, makeshift spear in hand. A girl appeared, thin, wild-eyed, clutching a bag of apples and a broken radio. She begged for water. Aria gave her a cup, then shared a meal of sprouted beans and stale bread. The next day, the girl brought others. A young mechanic, a mother and child, two elders who had nowhere else to go. Word traveled among the desperate. There was life beneath the city. Aria welcomed them all, teaching them to find water, patch leaks, and coax seeds from the dark earth. Together, they began to shape the underground into a home. The world above had sealed them out, but down here, something new was growing. The population underground grew with each passing week. Tunnels once echoing with silence now buzzed with life. Voices of children echoing through forgotten subway corridors, hammers ringing as makeshift rooms were built from salvaged doors and abandoned seats. Aria organized the newcomers. She assigned sleeping spaces, mapped escape routes, and established a simple system for sharing resources: water, food, batteries, and warmth. A committee of elders helped mediate disputes, while the young mechanic repaired lanterns and wired up solar panels scavenged from rooftops. Everyone worked. Those who found food shared it. Those who could build, built. The world above had thrived on money and secrets, but Aria's world would be different. Here, no one would be left out. Every night, they gathered in the plaza, once empty, now bright with makeshift lamps, to share news, tell stories, and plan for the next day. The tunnels held secrets. One afternoon, a child wandered down an unexplored passage and stumbled upon a buried storeroom. Inside were crates of canned food, barrels of clean water, and bundles of blankets, all part of an old emergency cache, forgotten since the last century. Aria organized a careful recovery. They inventoried every can, rationed water, and turned the blankets into sleeping rolls for the coldest corners. Soon after, the mechanic found a half-flooded maintenance room with old generators. With scavenged fuel and hours of patient work, he and Aria coaxed the generators to life. Electricity flickered on for the first time underground. Lamps glowed, fans whirred, and the plaza became a gathering place for all. Children laughed at their shadows on the tiled walls, and the elders wept for the comfort of light. Aria, standing beneath the mosaic, realized they weren't just surviving, they were building something lasting. But safety was always fragile. A tremor shook the tunnels one night, sending dust and fear through the community. Cracks appeared in a support pillar, and Aria called a meeting. If they didn't act, they could lose everything. The community pooled knowledge. An old engineer taught how to brace the tunnel with scavenged steel beams. The strongest carried rubble away by the bucketful. Others wove rope nets to catch falling stones. Day and night they worked, sealing the cracks and rebuilding supports. The tremor had frightened them, but it also bound them together. No one slept until the work was done. When the dust settled, Aria stood at the plaza's center and spoke. They sealed us out to keep us safe, but it was fear that closed the tunnels. We will live here because we choose to, and because we care for each other. The crowd erupted in cheers. For the first time, the tunnels truly felt like home. With the tunnels secure, growth followed. People arrived from farther away, displaced families, wandering tradesmen, and a small group of scientists escaping unrest above. They brought seeds, tools, and books about hydroponics and underground farming. Aria welcomed them all, eager to learn and share. The scientists taught children to read maps and test water quality, while elders led lessons in old songs and traditions from the vanished city. Hydroponic gardens sprang up along the widest tunnels, fed by reclaimed water and flickering rows of LED lights powered by the restored generators. The first harvest, a basket of tomatoes, peppers, and beans, sparked a festival. Everyone danced to drums made from old barrels, ate together, and celebrated the miracle of green in a world of gray. Hope took root alongside the crops. But challenges grew with the population. A shortage of medicine brought illness in the colder tunnels. Aria and the mechanic ventured to the surface through a long abandoned stairwell, moving at night to avoid detection from the city above. They returned with supplies, antibiotics, bandages, even a radio receiver. From that day, a quiet line of communication opened with a few trusted souls above ground. Warnings about police patrols, news of coming storms, offers of help from those who had friends or family below. Some, frightened by rumors, tried to block the passages with concrete and steel, but the underground's reputation spread anyway. Aria realized their survival depended not only on secrecy, but on trust and smart alliances. The world below thrived despite every threat. A school formed in a wide chamber, children learning by day and older students teaching at night. The scientists taught how to cultivate mushrooms and grow potatoes without sunlight, and the elders wove together a new kind of community, one part memory, one part invention. Aria established a council, chosen by the community, so decisions were shared. One by one, dark corners of the tunnels were transformed. An old ticket booth became a clinic, an abandoned train car a community kitchen, a flooded passage a fish pond. The city above still dismissed the rumors, thinking the tunnels empty and dangerous. But Aria's world glowed brighter with every day, hope and ingenuity carving life from darkness. Time below passed in seasons measured not by weather, but by harvests and new arrivals. A tunnel collapse cut off the western passages. Instead of despair, the community mobilized. Rescuers tunneled through debris, bringing trapped neighbors back into the plaza. Engineers reinforced weak points, and teachers drew new maps to keep everyone safe. With each challenge, confidence grew. Children born underground knew only the glow of lamps and the taste of hydroponic greens. But they dreamed of expanding farther, of finding more lost chambers, of one day seeing the sun. Artists painted murals of forests and rivers on the curved tunnel walls. The plaza filled with color, paper lanterns, woven banners, and painted tiles marking every family's story. The underground became not just a refuge, but a place people chose to stay. Above ground, rumors grew. Officials dismissed tales of an underground city as fantasy, but some saw the tunnels as a threat or an opportunity. One night, a group of scavengers breached a sealed entrance and tried to raid the community's stores. Aria rallied everyone with a swift plan. Gates were barricaded, alarms set, and every member took turns standing watch. Confronted, the scavengers were given a choice: leave peacefully or join and contribute. Most chose to leave, but a few stayed, surprised by the generosity and order they found below. Afterward, Aria and the council tightened security but kept the doors open to those in real need. Their philosophy remained: trust, share, and survive together. The seasons of hardship brought new leadership. Aria, older now, watched as the children she once taught grew into organizers, engineers, artists, and farmers. The tunnels expanded. A new level opened when a collapsed passage was cleared, revealing old storage rooms and forgotten workshops. A celebration was held, the largest yet. Musicians played in every corridor, lanterns lit the way, and every voice joined in a song echoing through stone and steel. Aria stood in the center of the plaza, proud of what they had built. They sealed the tunnels, thinking nothing could survive. But down here, we found each other and made a world no one believed possible. The applause thundered through the underground, louder than any storm above. The city above changed with time, but so did the world below. Trade blossomed between the underground and a handful of trusted allies on the surface. Fresh vegetables for tools, fish for news, art for rare books. A few city officials began to suspect something more than legend existed beneath their feet, but couldn't find proof. An epidemic struck the surface. Aria's council debated, should they risk exposure to help? In the end, guided by the values that built their home, they organized quiet nighttime missions. Doctors and supplies slipped out through secret exits to aid the sick above. Gratitude, secret, silent but deep, grew on both sides of the earth. Underground, their bonds grew stronger. No longer just survivors, they were healers and hope-bringers, woven into the city's fate. With prosperity came growing pains. Space was limited. Arguments erupted over sleeping quarters, water rights, and leadership roles. Aria saw her role shifting from leader to mentor, from builder to keeper of memory. She guided the council as they revised rules, rotating responsibilities, expanding gardens, and establishing a library to preserve stories, songs, and technical know-how for future generations. Disputes were solved in open forums, and new leaders rose to meet new challenges. The underground was not a utopia. There were mistakes, setbacks, even heartbreak. But every time, the community learned and adapted, surviving as one. Aria's legacy became legend. Children listened to elders tell the story of the day she first broke through the sealed tunnel, of how a single sprout became a forest of hope. The community marked her birthday with lantern festivals and feasts, every corridor echoing with song and laughter. One year, engineers completed an ambitious project, a solar elevator that brought filtered sunlight down to the plaza, allowing citrus trees and flowers to bloom beneath the earth. Tourists from above, now allowed entry by invitation, marveled at the ingenuity and warmth of this hidden world. Aria, silver-haired and steady, spent her days in the garden, her hands in the dirt, her eyes bright with pride. The world below was no longer just a secret, it was a beacon. Decades had passed since Aria first pried open the sealed tunnel. The underground was now a thriving city, known above as much for its mystery as for its miracles. Streets below bustled with activity. Markets selling mushrooms and hydroponic fruit, workshops repairing electronics, schools filled with children reciting poems beneath artificial sunlight. Families lived in brick-lined alcoves once carved out for railway offices. Public spaces blossomed with murals and gardens. Small streams of clean water ran through stone channels, feeding groves of citrus, berries, and medicinal herbs. Each year, more surface dwellers were invited below, artists, teachers, healers, and leaders, all wanting to learn how hope could survive in the dark. Aria moved quietly through the city, a legend in life. She taught the youngest how to plant seeds, counseled the council through difficult decisions, and reminded everyone of their roots. An archive was created, preserving every lesson learned, every story, every mistake and triumph. Aria's journals became required reading for every leader, above and below. Aria's final years were filled with peace and wonder. She watched the first citrus harvest beneath the solar skylight, the plaza bathed in golden warmth. Children brought her fruit and flowers, asking for stories of the old world, and she told them, always ending with, "We grow what others left behind." New leaders guided the underground, diverse, compassionate, creative. The community's code was simple but powerful. Share what you have, learn from your mistakes, care for the earth and for each other. Above, the city finally acknowledged the miracle beneath its streets. Joint festivals were held at the surface entrances. Art, song, food, and stories exchanged between two worlds now forever linked. One evening, as lanterns floated through every corridor and music rose to the high stone arches, Aria sat surrounded by her oldest friends and the youngest children. She whispered, "They sealed the tunnels to keep us out. We built a world to welcome them in." Aria passed quietly that night, her hand in the dirt, her dreams at peace. Aria's world outlived her. A statue of her, trowel in hand, was placed at the entrance of the main plaza, beneath the mosaic where she first planted beans in the dark. Every year on the anniversary of the first breakthrough, the underground city opened its doors for a day of celebration. Thousands came from above, bearing seeds, tools, books, and hope. Children from both worlds planted trees on the surface and in the tunnels, pledging to keep the Earth alive. The library grew, as did the city's reach. New tunnels, new crops, new inventions. Other cities sent envoys, hoping to learn how a forgotten place could become the heart of resilience. The plaque at the entrance to the city reads, "They sealed the tunnels. She built a new world beneath their feet." Aria's legacy became a living promise. Where others saw endings, she planted beginnings. And the underground, lit by kindness and courage, shone as bright as any sun.